Di nuovo buon pomeriggio a tutti, continuiamo la nostra conversazione con Gabriele Tagliaventi e José Baganha, collegato dal Portogallo. Good afternoon again, I'm speaking from Ferrara and I'm here with Gabriele Tagliaventi from Bologna and José Baganha from Lisbon, Portugal. So now we are going now to José live in Lisbon. José, thank you again so much for joining us today. The last question for you is how urban planning and life in our cities will look after the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, I can only express hopes, no? I must begin by saying that I don't know if this problem of COVID-19 will be a permanent problem or not, if it came to be a permanent thing in our lives or no. Well, I'm afraid that it will be something more permanent than something that we can eradicate completely. Perhaps we can have some kind of medicines that allowed us to keep going with our lives and our society keep going. And some of us will have COVID, but we have some kind of pharmac thing that we can take and go on. Well, so we don't know still what will be the permanent condition. Okay? But I think, or I hope, that we have learned a few lessons. I only can hope that. I hope so. I sincerely hope that we don't make more huge malls, commercial malls, or office malls, things like that. I think that once and for all, we must learn that these things are bad for our lives, for our city, for our health. Okay, and the other lesson is that we could realize how, with the reduction of the mass tourism, how our cities gained a certain quality that had disappeared from completely. And of course, we don't want our cities to be empty. I'm not saying that, of course, but perhaps we could have some more equilibrium, some more containment on that. We were watching what was happening to Lisbon with the mass tourism, which was something crazy. We arrived to have 7 big ships parked on the Tagus River against the hills of Lisbon, which are authentic huge condominiums parked there. And well, the planes getting people, which leaves, they take the metro, and they are in the center of Lisbon in 15 minutes. It was crazy. Well, I think that we learned something with this, and we can. I don't say we are not going to have tourists. Of course, we will have tourists, and I hope we will have tourists. But take care, not again how it was. So these are the things that I hope, 2 lessons that I hope we have learned. Okay? And I think that every measure that we can adopt to promote local commerce, to promote I use the word again, mixed-use neighborhoods, places where we can have what is essential to our lives in a comfortable distance. Well, I think these are the main lessons that we must, and I hope that we can learn from this situation. This is, for me, the essential thing. I was speaking a few minutes ago about the kind of projects we had a lot in the last 2 3 years on tourism, transforming the buildings of the center of Lisbon in tourism apartments for the tourists, of course, apartments for the tourists. And fortunately, there was a rule that obliged us, architects, to make those rehabilitations or those renovations with this idea that one day the tourists could go away. So we would have to get back to regular housing. And fortunately, that was made. And we look and we see that now many of those buildings that were occupied with tourists are now being occupied with families. And that brings people to the center of the cities, and that brings regular life, usual life to the center of cities. People go out and go to the grocery store, or they go to buy wherever, they go to the pharmacy, or they go to the coffee shop, or wherever. So life comes back little by little. I think if this works, if this lesson was learned, I think that's not bad. Okay.
Yes, yes, this is
Thank you.
very important, because, for instance, I was reading an article by an economic media, Market Watch, which is the market financial supplement of the Wall Street Journal. And Market Watch was speaking about the huge waterfall of real estate prices in New York City, the skyscrapers crisis. And it was the same, quite amazing. No architectural magazine is talking about that, but Bloomberg, the other financial channel, was reporting on the big crisis in China, skyscrapers. Why? Because in New York, people have realized that to live 3 months shut in the 20th, 30th story floor in a box, suspended 100, 200 meters above street, and connected to life only by elevator. Now, the big technical problem, it is quite amazing, because the elevator was the responsible for the development of skyscrapers, the technical solution that allowed the skyscrapers. Now, the same elevator became, because of the COVID, of the coronavirus, became a reason for big problems, because it is a small piece, completely fundamental for the everyday life. Now, the reaction of people in New York City was very simple. People wanted to just get out and buy a house outside the skyscraper. Of course, the reaction we can understand was to go to the suburb, which is understandable, because you are stuck in a box, and that box belonged to a city where, amazingly, 20,000 people are dead. 1/4 of the entire American COVID toll is in New York City. This is very important, because maybe it is the reaction of those people in China and in New York City that will allow a kind of general reconsideration of this strange phenomenon of large horizontal mall and huge vertical skyscrapers, all the both of them completely alien, let's say, to the usual organic way of life of a human body.
Yes.
Thank you.
If I could complete what Gabriele just said about skyscrapers, of course, we already knew that skyscraper is a nonsense for the human use, because even for security reasons, because we are making cul-de-sacs in high, so if there's a fire or a problem or whatever, people get stuck in the 30 or 80 floors. That's the most stupid thing that we could arrange for as place to live. Okay, so you already knew that, and now, as you say, and very well, people get a virus in the elevator. So
Yes.
it keeps being stupid. Okay, and I would like to mention, we had a politician here in Portugal, which is called Ribeiro Teles. I don't know if it sounds anything. He just made 93 now. Is still alive. And Ribeiro Teles um, um, got to make to Lisbon municipality to adopt some of his ideas, which were really exceptional, because in his vision, he was always very preoccupied with a certain percentage of open area in the plots of the buildings, which could allow water to penetrate the soil. And if you want to do a building in central Lisbon, or if you want to intervene, you must count with that rule. So this allowed it that many of the plots of the buildings in the central Lisbon, even in the central city, have orchards, or have trees, have gardens, and this system makes, in a situation like this, that you may get confined, well, makes it much less hard than if you are stuck in a skyscraper, of course. Well, he combined these kind of measures with also a system of public gardens that creates corridors and gets some infiltration areas free. As you know, Lisbon is a city of hills, and it was fundamental to keep some draining and some infiltration areas free. So it was a no system that was pretty clever. It was a sort of pre-vision of what the future city could be, combining the buildings and the richness of the uses, of the various uses, with this kind of green system, which is very well adapted to the city, and I pretty much believe that is the model of city that I would like to see and to live in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, José. Thank you, Gabriele. Now we are going to the end of this interview, but I want to ask José another thing. Please, José, can you tell us something concerning your current project in Portugal? What about your last projects?
Well, I'm working pretty much in the southern province of Portugal, which is Alentejo, where I'm doing a project that combine housing with agriculture developments. I also add a few interesting touristic projects in Lisbon, which are now being transformed in apartments. Okay, as I was saying. Well, I also must say that there are a few projects for elderly, well, things that are being very, people are looking for this kind of things here in Portugal very much. Well, which is another kind of problem, because you must get to do this kind of things without creating ghettos for old people. So we must integrate these projects in the city, in the tissue, and make that the elderly don't feel isolated. So these are mainly the projects that I'm occupied now.
Okay, thank you, Jose. We really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much, and be safe, be well, and hope to see you soon.
You too. Thank you very much for the opportunity too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you a lot.
It was a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you.
I keep dreaming. I keep dreaming for a new Triennale or something like that.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
Of course.
Very well.
All the best. All the best.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
All the best, Jose.